Big drive energy. Hump day, Wednesday afternoon. Holiday season. We're getting close to all the fun festivities. Mitchell's going to be out in Colorado for a couple weeks. It's going to be a real treat. But first of all, how are you doing? How was your past weekend and all the football going on? We had college championship games. Real good weekend. Real good games. Just like I got to say, like, overall, I think I like bowl season and this type of football season later in the year. Obviously, the games mean more, so that's kind of a silly comment. But I like when there's more emphasis on certain games and individual games than like having so many. Like I love college football on Saturday, but you can't watch 14 games at once. You can't pay attention to 14 games. So when these games are like back to back, and like when you get Thanksgiving games where it's like 3 in a row, but none of them are overlapping. You know, the NFL, I still say the NFL does a bad job of playing 7 games a week at 11 a.m. Mountain, 1 p.m. Eastern. But what's your thoughts on that? I like the emphasis on one game more because you can actually watch it.
Yeah, no, I'm always, especially with college football, I am a quality over quantity. Like I can't stand, like I think we just talked about it last week, but I'm not a Miami of Ohio versus an Akron type of dude. I want to watch the biggest and best matchups in the NFL and college. So, I mean, would you say any NFL game you'd watch, or like Tennessee Jacksonville this last week was a complete stinker, or was it Giants Jacksonville? Either way, Tennessee played a terrible game. Jacksonville played a terrible game.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like individual games. I'd rather watch. I'd rather have a focus, even if it's a shit game. I'd rather have the focus on that game, like when it's like Thursday night or Monday night, because it's more attainable to watch than trying to pay attention to 7 different games. And then if my team is on, I'm definitely paying attention to that game, but also there's like 3 or 4 others at the same time that I'm want to keep an eye on for fantasy and just general purposes, but I can't because I'm dialed on our game.
For sure. That reminds me, Missy set up a dinner since we're coming out to Colorado for Christmas. We're getting together with her grandparents and her mom and maybe her sister for dinner on Sunday. And then she was like, should we do like an early dinner, like 4:30, 5 o'clock? And then I realized it was the Broncos and the Eagles both play in the late afternoon window on Sunday. And I was like, oh my God, are you serious? I'm going to be iPad kids sitting at the table at the restaurant watching football. But then we switched it. So we're just going to like kind of get it catered and bring it here. Basically I'll get it delivered here and then just watch football and have dinner here and exchange gifts and all that. So thank God that saved, because I cannot miss. First of all, I mean, the Eagles Steelers game is going to be electric, and then Broncos Colts obviously has massive implications as well. So looking forward to this upcoming weekend more, and we'll kind of have a good idea of if the Broncos are going to be in the playoffs or not, which would just be, I really did not think I would be saying Broncos and playoffs in the same sentence, unless I was saying the Broncos won't make the playoffs for 5 more years. So definitely quite the change. But other than that, I mean, it's been rainy here. It's been pretty cold and wet. It's so weird. It just doesn't, it feels almost more like spring than it does winter. But I guess it's better than like a foot or 2 feet of snow, because today it's like 60 degrees. You can go outside, I guess it hasn't been cold for the most part. It's mostly just been rainy. But I've had a few sessions in the simulator. I went and played a couple hours yesterday in the simulator, and then I've been hitting balls. So that's been great. I'm kind of officially on my grind in the winter on your swing mode at this point. So I'm going to give a quick shout out to this product I found on TikTok. It is basically a golf training aid. So you have this band, you put it around your arms like so to keep your elbows connected like this. And then you have this that you put on your wrist to keep your wrist in a flex position. And it works awesome, dude. Like I've been grinding with it because I have a problem getting my wrists extended and then also getting separated with my elbows at the top. So this product has been a lifesaver because I was using the Super Ball or the Smart Ball, whatever it's called, where you hang it around your neck. But this thing's easier because you don't even need to move it. You don't need to worry about moving anything around. You just keep it around your arms. So I really like the piece around your elbows, and then obviously the wrist part to keep your wrist in flexion. So I'm grinding on the swing. I'm gonna try to gain some distance this winter. I am thinking about ordering a speed program. You know, it's one of those where it's like, why work out all the time when you can just buy a product that hopefully improves your speed. I would obviously have to use the product, but I think I may purchase one of those just to really see if I can gain some speed, because I've been striping it. Like I've been really hitting it good with the irons and the driver. I really have no weaknesses in my golf game. You know, that's just kind of how I roll. I'm totally kidding. But yeah, I am kind of, you know, when you hit that point where you get really excited to work on your own swing and you're like, you're stoked about it.
I don't think I've ever been there, but go on.
It is kind of funny to think about you. And we've discussed this before in past years. I don't know if I've ever seen you like practice chipping. I don't know if I've ever seen you on a chipping green, just like with your AirPods in, just like practicing. I've never seen you do anything but warm up. You're generally you're like mom in her women's league where she goes and hits half a bucket, and then goes out and plays and wonders why she plays poorly. Like I've literally never seen you practice. So and you do have a kid now and a full-time job and a wife. So that makes more sense now. But like 10 years ago, you didn't have any of that and you still weren't practicing. So
No, yeah, I've never been a big practice guy on the golf course or on the range. But to my defense, since you left and this summer, I had a few afternoon range sessions, brought the boy out.
Since I left, I had to move across the country for you to start practicing golf.
No, you just had to move across the country to realize that I wasn't putting in the work, because you're not daily, seeing what I'm doing daily. But I was putting in a little bit of work this summer into fall, going and hitting balls, and I was on the chipping green. I'm very familiar with the Inverness chipping green now, and even worked on some putting.
That's the worst nickname for a golf course I've ever heard.
Oh man, I wore this hat just for you. I thought of you when I put this on, and I thought this is going to be perfect for talking to him for an hour on camera. He's going to love it.
That's when you know something's too played out, is when everybody starts doing it and you start reaching, because the Ness is a little bit of a reach.
I don't know. I kind of like it, so I'm going to stick with this hat.
What is it? Can you define what a Ness is for me? What is Ness?
Well, I think of Loch Ness Monster. Like the Ness is like the I don't know. I like it.
Do you know one small change I would make that I think would actually make it cool would be if it said the nest, like the crow's nest or something like that.
Maybe
like
with two S's. Nest.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But then it just sounds like you're Mike Tyson trying to say Inverness. Doesn't sound like a real place.
Put any TH on the front of your hat. Let's go to the Neth. But yes, you're not a big practicer. You're not quite the grinder but you also are afforded the luxury of just going out there and swinging at 110 to 115 miles an hour. And I have to warm up and stretch my scoliosis back out in order to top out at maybe 105. So it's a different levels to this. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, we are in the playoffs though in our simulator league, but I didn't play last week or last night because of this back scenario that I've got going on. I'm getting better.
You're on the IR?
I'm on the IR.
Did they put you on the IR? Are you out mandatory 4 weeks, or are you?
No. Well, now that they made the championship last night, they're going to play it next week, and I'm not going to play because we basically have 4 players for a 3-player team. And on Sunday, I texted him and I was like, hey, I don't think I'm going to make it Tuesday. I still went. I went and hung out and had some drinks, but I was
You're
I
you're
was
officially
fucking
every old dude that we met at the golf course. You're like, I can't.
yeah.
You're like, can I just get a golf cart to ride around?
Yeah,
I'm not even.
that was me. I was like, can I pop a squat here? Can I still order drinks even though I'm not playing?
Oh
But
my god, that's legendary.
I said since I'm not going to be in the semis, I'll let the boys, the same guys that won yesterday, play in the championship. So I'm just
So
a team player.
you are Jalen Hurts, basically. You got sat, and then your team's gonna go win a title, and you're gonna have to switch teams after this year. You can't stay on the same team,
I can't stay in the same roster. I've got a roster
bro.
move.
You please do a transfer portal. Like we should make a, a fucking meme of
Fucking
you going into the transfer portal in the simulator golf league. That would be all time. I actually come to think of it, because I want to talk a little football quick. I saw this GIF, or not a GIF, fuck, a meme. There's so many things on the internet. Basically, just a graphic. Let's say that it was a graphic that somebody put together of this 7-year-old hitting the transfer portal and switching football teams in the Jacksonville Youth Football Association. And it was like, thank you to my teammates. I've learned so much. And it had his body stats. He was 3'6", 49 pounds. It's like, and he's like class of, what if he's 7 right now? That's class of 2030,
probably
35,
35. Yeah.
2035. And oh my god, dude, it was the funniest fucking thing. And it was listed as positions. It's like DB, quarterback, running back,
Athlete,
linebacker, like
safety.
basically anything besides offensive or defensive lineman is what. Dude, it was the funniest thing I'd ever fucking seen in my
So
life.
wait, was it real? Was it real from like him? But it was just then
Yes,
blew up. Oh my god!
yes. Somebody, I think his dad like posted it or something, which obviously
Dude,
everybody wants to be Baby Gronk's dad and do the same shit.
they've
What?
got some serious different energy down there with football. Like I saw that video of like 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds coming out to like Snoop Dogg, and I'm worried for what my kid is gonna be. And if he plays football, it was funny. We were at the kids gym the other day, and I think do you know the term wag? Like it's, I don't really know the term. Apparently it's just like players' wives.
Like women athlete, or like women that are dating athletes.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And we're at the playpen, and Sawyer's, just obsessed with his ball. Like he's just dunking this basketball. And then he goes and picks up a football and he hands it to this other little kid. And this other little kid's holding it. And the mom's like, oh, you can hold it, but you're not going to play football. And then like we kind of not struck up a conversation, but she's like, yeah. She went full like wag and was like, yeah, his dad plays. And I wanted to be like, what, flag? But she was at least at a level where it's conceivable that it was an NFL player as the dad. But we didn't get into the weeds on that. And then I was just thinking, like, am I gonna? And Kylie was like, yeah, he's not playing either. And I was like, And so on the way home, I was
Oh, we
kind of
having
like,
this
well,
conversation right now? Or
yeah,
are we having
that's exactly what I said. I was like, when we walked home from the thing, I was like, so should we just have this conversation now? Because like, if he wants to play flag and start out, and then depending upon his size, he gets bigger and bigger. Like, you never know. So it's an open conversation right now, open
Yeah,
to interpretation.
if your son's 6'3", 6'4", and 220, 230 pounds, which
He's not playing golf.
there's an
That's for
outside
goddamn sure.
chance. What?
He's not playing golf. That's for goddamn sure.
Well, unless he's hitting it like 330 and is just a world beater at golf. But no, I cannot imagine a world in which you had a massive kid and decided to let him do anything other than a sport where size is needed. Like golf is kind of the last ditch effort.
Yeah,
like,
it'll be a direct inverse correlation to my life where I was too small to play any sports when I got old enough, so then I had to go play golf. It'll be the opposite.
Exactly.
We'll have him in golf, and then the bigger I see him getting, then I'll be like, okay, well, it's time to learn offensive tackle, buddy, or tight end.
Time to learn blocking scheme, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
I will say you live in a nice neighborhood, but I don't see any NFL players living in your neighborhood. So what's this chick doing at Little Kickers?
Well, I think that's like the nearest kids gym within a good radius, like the Cherry Hills radius or the University Hills radius. So
Oh, speaking of gyms, I joined a new gym this week. I joined LA Fitness, which is kind of scum of the earth, but it's $25 a month. So, kind of similar to like what you go to, just not a great gym, but it gets the job done. It has weights and
they're
cardio stuff.
they're building a lift lab in my gym.
I is that just more weights? Does that just
It's
mean
just
there's
a
different
very
weights?
they took out the movie theater, which I never entered. There was a movie theater with, I guess, like bikes and a bunch of cardio shit, so you could just watch a movie and do that. But they're taking that out for this lift lab. And from what I've heard I've been to the other Choose a couple times, time or two, and their lift lab is like an exclusive lifting area. So you have to have X amount of membership to go in there. But it also has a bunch of different machines that aren't on the normal floor. So I'll
They
give I'll check in once it's actually built and done and see what we got cooking. But that's apparently the point.
Do they just have like a bunch of selfie stations set up in there for everybody to take pictures of themselves at the gym? Because that's what all those meatheads love to do anyway. I can't fucking stand catching people taking pictures of themselves in the gym mirror. It makes me want to fucking throw up.
Yeah, yeah, they always say something about they're very strict about not having pictures in the gym or cameras on when they're, around any of that, and that's like the only spot that people take pictures. Although they do it on the gym floor, so.
That's true. Yeah. No, fair enough.
But you're an
What
LA Fitness guy now, huh?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of an odd setup, but it gets the job done. You know, on days like this, I can go get a little cardio in, feel like I did something, and then pretend to be lifting weights. Although this is kind of weird, like they don't offer, and I guess this makes sense, but they don't offer any towels. Like they upcharge if you want a towel. They upcharge you $5 a month if you want to have a towel, which seems a little Spirit Airlines ish of them. And then they also like the hot tub. They have so there's like a full pool and hot tub and stuff, but the hot tub is literally out the door from like all the cardio equipment. So if I want to, and there's just glass. So if I want to go enjoy a hot tub, I got to deal with everybody looking at me from inside of the gym, and that's just not something I want. I don't need to be
Not
in a
something I'm
swimsuit.
into.
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer the hot tub to be at least somewhat like sequestered to where I don't feel subjected to everybody sexualizing my body at the gym. So, yeah, it's not the ideal setup, but honestly, I was a member of Lifetime Fitness last year, and it was $250 a month. So, I figured I could just go buy another car instead if I was going to do that. So yeah, I mean, it could be worse, but it could be better. Let's talk real quick before we get into golf about fantasy football. Because I got absolutely bent over and shown the 50 states by Jamar Chase this last week. That guy is an animal, but it kind of has me hopeful that maybe T. Higgins is like looking at that and being like, why don't I just go somewhere else? You know, fucking Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase have this love affair. I'm like the third in the thruple here. I can go find someone else that's going to actually throw me the ball, aka Bo Nix, Big Dick Bo.
Yeah, that's a great spin zone, great positive spin zone on the situation, but it feels like he's going to command too much money for us to be able to hop in there. That's what it.
We have plenty of cap space unless
Yeah, we
they just
will,
spend
but at the
elsewhere.
same time, like you don't want to go spend 30 million, which is what he's going to get somewhere. Somebody's going to be
Well,
desperate
Sean
for a
Payne's going to
receiver.
want to give Taysom Hill 20 million, and he's like fucking 37 years old. So why not spend the extra 10 and actually get a viable piece of offense?
Yeah, that's a fair point for sure. But yeah, I'm gonna try not to get into too big of a pipe dream into next year yet, and just figure out like I'm getting the nervies about them playing this Sunday already, and like the fact that they actually have to win And it feels like if they don't win, it's like a disaster class of the last month, which I don't think we're going to see, but you never know. NFL changes month to month, week to week. So I hope they get the dub this week, and then we can feel really good about actually talking about a playoff game, which is not something, like you said earlier, that we thought we were going to actually be discussing this year, which is shocking.
Yes, very true. Also, I just want it on the record. I want us to make college football playoff predictions. So give me your winner. Give me your matchup and your winner.
I think it's going to be Oregon. I'm going to say Oregon, Arizona State, and the winner is Oregon by a lot, like a 42-27 game.
I was going to say something along the lines of Arizona State because that's just the fun. That's the flashy, like they're the hottest team right now. They're the punchy underdog of the NCAA tournament. I'm trying to think of Fairleigh Dickinson or who else has been made a big run in the last couple of years.
I don't know. Fairleigh Dickinson. It was a while ago, but Florida Gulf Coast made that run.
Oh yeah,
Dunk City.
FGCU. But yes, anywho, I think it's going to be tough, but I mean, Oregon is kind of the low hanging fruit. They're the best team. I think that maybe if Tennessee plays like they played at the beginning of the year, they could make a run because they're just filthy. Like they were beating teams by 70 to 80 points. So if Iamaliava, I think I said that correctly, if he could play well, then I could see them making a run. Ohio State, I could see them making a run. But I'm just legitimately stoked to watch like playoff football in the form of college, not just the top four. We get more games than that, especially with them being at the different teams' home stadiums. I think it's going to be electric.
Yeah, and having it at, like you said, at their campuses, full stadiums and that. And then, the college football playoff games the last however many years were 2 games and then the championship. This is a full on, like we got a great championship weekend this past weekend, and then we got, 12 teams, so 6 or 8 more games, 7 more games, something like that. The math isn't, I'm not doing too well on the math right there, but basically all those games matter. Instead of 3 games mattering, there's like 8 or 9 that matter.
Yeah, 100%. And I will say too that I have to give credit to Penn State. You tweeted that they were the biggest frauds.
They still are. They're going to lose in round 1.
See, I think Drew Aller is actually much better than I originally gave him credit for, because he actually can throw. I've said actually like 18 times now, but he can actually throw the ball downfield. And Tyler Warren is the sickest tight end in college football. That if we don't go get T. Higgins or anything, if the Broncos don't make that kind of move, we got to draft Tyler Warren, because that guy, first of all, shout out our buddy Tyler Warren. That would just be perfect to get that jersey, and Tyler could get his jersey with his own name on it. But also he's like so dynamic pass catching, because I guess Penn State's wide receivers are like non-existent, and Tyler Warren is kind of Drew Aller's only target. So he's just torn it up these last few weeks. I mean, do you have any idea where he's projected to go in the draft? Like, is he a first rounder?
I think he's a first or second rounder for sure. Some are hoping that he maybe squeaks to the second round, because tight end is a weird position where you can get guys later and they're still just as, just as talented, and it's just not as important of a position.
It just gives me flashbacks to Jake Butt, who I don't think ever played a fucking down for us. So that was frustrating.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate situation, drafting him the pick before George Kittle. That hurts.
Oh my God, yeah. Although George Kittle's just a little, he's an Iowa boy, so I like him, but he's a little douchey to me.
Oh, really? I love him.
Kind of rubs me the wrong way. He's
really?
Such a goober.
I think he's just so Iowa, it hurts, which I love about him.
He's just, I know that sounds mean, but he's just a fucking ugly.
I love his hair, dude. I wish I had the hair like that.
Bro, if you grew your hair out longer, it would look like that. Like, it's not nice hair. It's just long hair.
It's not nice hair. It's just long hair. Well, dude, thanks for that.
I'm just saying, George Kittle doesn't have like this lion's mane of hair. He's got this greasy ass, thin, long hair that he jams all together and puts in a ponytail. Doesn't mean it looks good.
Okay, well, that's fair. We have another shout out to our boy Nick Scott, Spotify Wrapped are coming out. We were on his Spotify Wrapped list for the year, so thank you. Shout out to Nick. I tried to look up my Spotify Wrapped before I came in here and had Emma help me, but I don't have premium, so apparently I don't have a Wrapped because I'm not a Spotify guy. I'm a Pandora guy still.
I'm just an Apple Music guy, and that everybody like crucifies me for that, but I
As
am
they
strictly
should.
Apple
No.
Podcasts, Apple Music. I don't give a fuck. That's where
I
it is the easiest thing to access. I don't need the frills. I look up a song, I listen to the song. I look up a podcast, listen to the podcast. I don't
no,
need all the special shit.
I gotta chime in on this because, in my opinion, if I buy an Apple product, I should not have to pay for Apple Music. Give me Apple Music for free. I shouldn't have, like, in my opinion, I shouldn't have to pay for Apple Music. That's why, if I'm gonna pay for something, give me Spotify all day.
That's actually a fair assessment to that. And to me, like, I like Pandora because I've been listening to Pandora since college, and I still have my college like account. And so it's just all the music I've listened to the last literally 10 plus years, and it's just put into one. And I don't like choosing what song I listen to. I hate that. There's like 3 or 4 songs that I may choose to listen to in the entire world, and that rotates maybe year by year. But overall, I like to be chosen for me. Very sub musically. Choose what's next. I'm not the one choosing.
You're so fucking passive at everything in your life that you don't even want to choose the own song you listen to. You're like, you probably go up to your wife and hand her your phone and be like, "Can you choose me a song to listen to?" Because I just don't want to make a decision. I don't want to ruffle my own feathers with making this choice for myself.
Oh God. Okay.
That is the most out of pocket shit. But I will say what I've heard, and Emma, I don't know if you have heard about this, but I heard the quality of sound on Apple Music is actually better than Spotify. Like if you play a song side by side, you can hear a sound quality difference in Apple Music. Is this true or false?
False. That's your phone's sound quality. You can adjust in Apple and in Spotify the music, like how you can hear it. Same thing with like, you know how you play music out of your car, and you can adjust the quality in your car to be like have more bass or something along those lines. Same thing if you go into Apple or Spotify, you can adjust. But no, that's just your phone sound quality. You can blow your phone sound speakers so easily. Same thing with headphone speakers. Oh, they're awful quality in my opinion.
Well, yeah, but I obviously know that you can change like the bass and the treble and all that, but in my Hyundai Elantra, it doesn't sound as good as it did in in my fucking Audi when I had it. So like, I feel like there's got to be a level somewhere where Spotify, you can make it only so good, but I've heard the quality is like more crisp and a little bit more on point with Apple Music. I could be wrong, but it sounds like you're standing on the hill for Spotify, so I'll let you have this one.
I will always stand on Spotify Hill. I had both at one time, all throughout high school, because my parents were Apple Music people. So I was paying outside for Spotify. I had both. I prefer the platform. I prefer the quality. I prefer the just the layout as well. I'm a big app interface fan. So if like the interface is nice, that also goes with sports betting apps. If the interface sucks, I won't use it. I don't care how good the odds are.
Yeah, that's actually really fair. I just hate using new things. Like when I have used something for so long and I'm so comfortable with where everything is, when something changes that, it hits like a good 2 to 3 weeks of me figuring out the new interface.
No, I agree with that, but I am just more of a meat and potatoes, like run the ball type of guy, 95 on the black. I don't need the visuals. I don't need my Spotify Wrapped at the end of the year. I didn't they say last year that like I don't know if they did it this year, but didn't they compare you to like a car or you'd be this by the music you listen to? I heard that was a thing last year, and I just maybe not for me.
Last year, I think it was comparing your music to like a place, if that makes
Okay.
sense. So like
Yeah.
if you were listening to very like Midwest type music, it would consider you Midwest in one of those areas. The Wrapped isn't. it gets worse year by year, unfortunately. Like last year's was so much better than this year's. The year before that was so much like they get worse and worse, which is disappointing, but not enough of a con to get me to switch.
I was just gonna say, it sounds like you're in that bad relationship where somebody keeps like being meaner and meaner to you, and you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna stick this out. We've been together for a while. It's like, you could always just go to something better, like Apple Music. That shit's pretty solid all the time.
But also so is Spotify. Like that one added bonus that doesn't really add much for me personally. Maybe it adds more for others. But if it's a con, it's not that big of a deal for me personally.
That's fair. I will say too that so my girlfriend has Spotify and she made me get on it, and so we listen to it like in the car when we're together. And that DJ, like the AI DJ guy, is the fucking worst. He's terrible.
No.
He's like,
I was
now
just telling Spencer about this.
Now I'm gonna cue this song up for you that you listened to yesterday. It's kind of along the music that you like. It's like, no shit. You're literally just pausing it. It just goes to show you time is a flat circle, because that's just a fucking radio station. Like, I don't need people talking in between my songs. Otherwise, I'd just listen to the fucking radio. Like,
no, he talks at the intro, and then he'll switch the genre, but then he stops. Trust me.
I mean, I've listened to it, and then they're gonna start being like, to make you feel even more nostalgic, we're gonna slide some ads in between songs, and then it's just gonna be the whole
ads.
radio.
I pay for my Spotify. I don't get ads. Mitch, do you get ads on your podcast, by the way, on Apple Music?
Yes, I do.
Loser.
I have the 30-second button. I just know it. I don't even need to look. I just click right through it. It's fucking automatic. Me.
Speaking of Apple Podcast, Spotify, you can find Big Drive Energy on all of those platforms. That's a nice segue into we'll finish up the football talk with our Scheffy of the week. And so Scheffy of the week this week is actually not football related. We got our football talk out of the way early. Scheffy of the week is going to none other than the king, Nikola Jokic, Denver Nuggets center. What a weekend he had. 2 games, 104 points, 30 rebounds, 16 assists, back-to-back games, 1 win, 1 loss. I actually, hand up, did not watch the game on Sunday purposely. Never changed it to it. I boycotted. Now we've had 4 days off. Maybe Friday night when they play the Clippers, I'll tune back in. But I actively boycotted the Nuggets after their loss to the Washington Wizards on Saturday. Not proud of it, but it felt really good not tuning into the game at all on Sunday. So it just felt good. Watched football, didn't pay attention to it. But Nikola Jokic had himself maybe a weekend that we'll never see again. An honorable mention this week for the Scheffy of the week is Scottie Scheffler himself. Just another win, racking up the wins on 2024 on the PGA Tour. And that gets us into Scottie Scheffler. This is the part of the podcast where we talk about golf. Make sure everybody knows that transition time. The Scottie Scheffler won the Hero World Challenge, and so that kind of it vaults his season even higher than it already was. We had the discussion a couple weeks ago, or maybe months ago now. It doesn't feel like that long ago. Going into the Tour Championship of whose season was better between Xander Schauffele and Scottie Scheffler. He then won the Tour Championship, now is named Player of the Year. And Ben On actually kind of brought this. It's been a discussion now. I think we know that Scottie's very clear of everyone that's playing golf since Tiger Woods in terms of a single season. But Ben On kind of brought this topic back up after he won the Hero World Challenge. And he said, I don't care what anyone says. Scottie this season was as good as one of Tiger's best seasons on tour. So it depends upon how you take that statement. One of Tiger's best seasons, and I've got some numbers that I dove into, and we'll do a little compare and contrast. But it's kind of funny when you realize that Tiger Woods had such a dominant career that he has like probably 6 or 7 seasons themselves that would be in the top 10 of all time seasons. And they're just him in 03 or 05 or whatever. And so I did a little research on that. And this is, of course, it's SB Nation. So there's facts in there, but this is also just a subjective list based on what they saw. But they ranked his 5 best seasons. Tiger Woods' 5 best seasons. Number 5, they had in 2008, he won 5 times with 1 major. In 05, he won 7 times with 2 majors. So really kind of where Scottie was this year in 05, and that's his 4th best season. 02, he had 6 wins, 2 majors. 06, he had 9 wins, 2 majors. And then arguably the greatest season ever, which we'll dive into a few of the numbers on here in a bit. In 2000, he had 10 wins and 3 majors, which what's crazy is he won 3 majors. He won the U.S. Open, PGA Championship, and the British Open, or that's what it's called at that time, so that doesn't count as a slip-up. The British Open. And then he turned around in 2001 and won the Masters in April. So he won all 4. He was at one point for half of April into May, whenever they played, probably June, back in 2000 when they played the U.S. Open. He was the owner of all 4 major championships at the same time, which I don't think I knew. Even being a Tiger stan.
Don't a lot of companies do like a fiscal year? Isn't that generally through...
It's usually like July 1 to June 31 or 30.
See, I thought it was like April through March. So I was going to say fiscal year, he was a major Grand Slam winner.
Tiger Slam is what they called it.
Yeah, and the fiscal year from April until the following June until April, whatever. It made sense in my head before I said
April,
it.
Yeah, following April through March, or you'd have to change it 1 month, and then he could have a fiscal year. His fiscal year would have to be like May to April. No, okay, that's 12 months. Yes.
But okay, so I will say this, and it is kind of insane. Another thing that makes sense in my head right now, because I was about to disparage the field strength of golf in the early 2000s when when Tiger had his best seasons ever. And realistically, I mean, you do look at a lot of the players and there wasn't near as much depth. But now you look at what Scottie's doing, and he's doing it when the LIV Tour now exists. So is it almost comparable? Because I would say the quality of players on the PGA Tour itself now are probably pretty similar, like depth of field wise, to what they were in the early to mid 2000s. They're probably a little bit better now, but with technology, it's kind of a wash. So it's just tough to say, man. I mean, obviously Scottie's year this year was absurd. And do you want to get into those numbers real quick?
Yeah. Well, before I get into Scottie's numbers, you were relating kind of field size and field strength back in 2000. So I actually did a little research on that. In 2000, Tiger hit 75.15% of greens that year, which is 75%'s never been achieved. Like on a full PGA Tour season, not like play 3 events and whatever. But so in 2024, the 50th player on the PGA Tour hit 69.12% of greens. In 2000, the 50th player hit 67.86% of greens. So not going full nerd, but like that's a point and almost a half, point and a quarter of difference in just the field strength. And now that's not a great data point. I'm going to be the first one to say it, but I was just basing it off of Tiger's 75.5 and where he was at compared to the 50th.
It definitely supports our argument here.
And so in 2000, the scoring average for the 50th ranked player was 70.76. The scoring average for the 50th ranked player in 2024 was 70.56. So it's gone down 0.2 of a shot essentially per round for the 50th overall player. Now, tour average in 2000 was 71.44. Tour average in 2024, I'll give you a quick guess.
70.95.
Pretty close, 71.14. So a difference of 0.3 shots from 2000 into 2024. Now, here's one I did for funsies because the scoring is not that far off. After looking at it, I thought maybe I can find something that's pretty far off from 2000 where it would show. Now, this is the one. What do you think is the thing that would show a good amount of difference? Not necessarily skill, not necessarily a certain stat, but what do you think has changed a ton? What do we talk about? What does the golf world talk about in the last 25 years? What are you trying to do? Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
So distance here.
Oh, put that hat back.
Yeah. I had an itchy head. My bald head was itching. So distance in 2000, the longest driver on tour in 2000 averaged 301 yards, 0.41. Who was that? Tiger was second.
301 yards, 0.41. Is that how you say
301.41 yards.
That sounded like a European way of saying that. Was it John Daly?
It was. John Daly. Tiger was second. In 2024, the longest average hitter on tour hits it 3 blank blank.
319.
322.8. So over 20 yards of
who is that right now?
I don't it was a guy that is not like Scottie was actually third on that.
Who was?
Scottie.
Third in distance?
I believe so.
Holy shit, I did not know he had that kind of game. I was unfamiliar. I was going to say as well that you
I lied, he's not third. But it's Cameron Champ. Cameron Champ is 322. Rory's second at 320. Ben On, creator of this argument, is third on tour, 320.
Holy shit. Yeah, I was not familiar with that either. I think Scottie's somewhere in the 305 to 310 range, so he still gets it out there, but I was going to make the argument of equipment. So what would you say, because I obviously have a thought, but I'm asking you first because that's how this exercise works. Do you think that equipment has beaten out the golf courses getting tougher or vice versa? Like, do players have a distinct advantage today with the equipment versus the current courses versus the old equipment with the easier golf courses?
I think it's if I had to say, I would say the courses actually have more of an advantage now because they can much quicker and much more readily, like obviously I wasn't watching the PGA Tour in the early 80s, late 80s, 90s, whatever. But it seems to me now that they're staying ahead of the distance that the PGA Tour players are gaining. Now, this whole ball rollback scenario may change everything entirely, but we're talking in this moment. I think a lot of courses are like, oh, yeah, we can just add a tee box here for this event when we host it in 5 years. Like, maybe that was the same way back in the 80s, 90s, but I feel like everything was pretty boilerplate and they were playing the same courses from the same general tees, and distance wasn't. I mean, if you think about it, it's basically gaining a yard a year. You know, the PGA Tour average on 2000 for driving distance was 272. Now it's 300.2. So, but I think courses and major championship venues and venues that hold PGA Tour events are actually gaining the advantage because they can see where distance is going. Whereas in the past, they were like, oh, distance is kind of going places, but it feels like they weren't as worried about it changing the shot, you know, the scores and how far players were hitting it. They were like, well, this is our golf course. It's historic. You're playing it and you're playing it from these tees. We're not like creating new tees. I feel like it's much more adjustable nowadays.
So you really didn't give me an answer, I feel like, to the question that I asked.
Well, yes, I did. I basically said that nowadays, the players have less of an advantage than they did in the past.
Okay, I feel like you're playing devil's advocate in that case because I feel like they definitely have more of an advantage now, even with the distance. Because like you said, the distance per year has gone up incrementally. And with the technology nowadays, distance obviously plays a massive factor. And I guess distance, that's the other thing too, is distance has never been more paramount than it is today. Like, while golf courses have gotten longer, they've also removed trees. They've removed certain hazards to not force you to play this kind of situational, plodding along, pick your spots type of golf. Like you see at some courses, they still play on tour, like Sea Island and things like that, or I'm sorry, Harbor Town. But just golf courses where you can't hit driver everywhere and just swing it as hard as you possibly can. So I think that could have been part of it as well. Like, there's definitely old school golf. There's more of an emphasis on shot shaping and and having a really good short game, getting the ball up and down. And maybe I just sound like a boomer now, but it's similar. I would almost compare it to like basketball, where now we've got all these advanced analytics and everybody realizes that distance is basically a direct correlation with lower scores. So now everybody's just bombing driver everywhere. Whereas similar to basketball, now we have all these analytics and everyone's like, well, you're at advantage to shoot a 3-pointer. And now the game just feels so dumbed down because of it. Like all these NBA teams are jacking up 40 to 50 to 60 threes a night because they think they have an advantage shooting threes versus shooting a long jump shot. And we are kind of in that weird generation because we've watched golf evolve and we've also watched basketball evolve. But do you remember when Carmelo Anthony's signature shot was like a jumper from the elbow? And that was, he could make 100 million of those in a row. Even Kevin Durant, as recently as, 8 years ago, was shooting those mid-range jumpers to like perfection. That's what Kobe made his like entire career on. And similar to old school PGA Tour guys, there were guys that couldn't hit the ball 310, 320, but they still won quite a bit on tour because they were really good at other things and they specialized in other things. So I feel like analytics is just more pushed everybody in one certain direction in like almost all of sports, because there is certain trends and you'd be stupid not to follow them. But at the same time, there's more than one way to get it done. And I feel like that's lost on a lot of people at this point.
Yeah, I just feel like the courses are more apt to like knowing that distance is always going to be adding to, each player is going to be adding to distance every single year. So they can set up the golf course that way and they can make it to where it's like, it's not an advantage anymore to have more distance, or they can make it, tougher, but they're not. But I'm saying like I think there's more opportunity for that nowadays than there was. So let's glaze Scottie Scheffler for a moment as his 2024 season kind of comes to an end, and he just came off a 2 months off, whatever it was, wins going away. Like Justin Thomas made a push. Shout out to him. Maybe he has a good 2025. And he's on the right path, but Scottie just ran away with the tournament in the end. He's the first player to win the Players, the Masters, and the Tour Championship in a single season. He's the first since Tiger to win Player of the Year 3 times in a row. Best scoring average in a single season on record, 68.01. He's the third player since 81 to have 7 wins in a season. Tiger Woods, Scottie Scheffler, and who? Did you see this? Who is the only other player to win 7 times in a season since 1981?
Since 81, Greg Norman?
Vijay Singh.
Oh,
which is pretty nuts. I think Vijay Singh had like a Scottie-like year this year, like in like 2001 or 2. One of those years when Tiger is Tiger is still dominant, but he's the 5th player to have multiple back-to-back title defenses since 95. He led 3 of the strokes gained stats, tee to green approach in total. He tied for the most consecutive top 20s to start a season with 13, and the fastest to 6 wins since Arnold Palmer in 1962. So a little glazing for our boy Scottie, but an unreal season, and probably fits, that we kind of had half of our players, talking about, excuse me, with Scottie Scheffler. We had the seasons of Tiger Woods, and there's maybe a season of Vijay Singh in there, but this season fits maybe not as quite as high as 2000 for Tiger Woods, but right in that next echelon.
Yeah, it's definitely a top 10 season of all time, even if Tiger has about 7 or 8 of those. Now Scottie's just got to go do it again for another decade, and then he'll be talked about in the same conversation as Tiger. Real quick, I want Emma's input on this too, because she's younger than us. The term glazing, it feels opposite to me. Like, because if you're glazing someone, that technically means you're doing it to them when you'd want them to do it to you. Like if they're that good, you know what I mean? Without getting too graphic here. If you're glazing someone, you're getting glazed by Scottie if you're just, giving him all these good stats. Am I wrong?
I don't think my generation uses that word at all.
Are you? Maybe you're young. How old are you?
23.
Okay, so is that a younger generation thing then?
It might be, yeah.
I just think
Okay,
of glazing like when you have like a fucking fresh hot donut and then you start glazing it, like
That's
it's making
this
it way better, and you're just like, yeah, like
that's
this,
yeah, I agree with
you know,
that.
like it's a dry donut and then you just glaze the shit out of it, and it just fucking. Then it's like,
see,
whoa, yeah, this is so
I
much
don't
better.
think there's any
I'm just gonna glaze on this thing.
like a honey baked ham. You glaze that shit. You throw some fucking hot brown sugar on that shit.
Jesus.
Uh,
Okay. Well, we have a few more things we got to get to. We're down fucking 10-minute clock, and we glazed Scottie Scheffler for so long that we're down to that. So a couple other things we wanted to talk about is there's a potential Ryder Cup coming up this year, LIV Ryder Cup-style event, I should say. LIV and PGA Tour, that was reported this past week. Thoughts on that? I feel like I don't know what's making it not get done. I know there's a lot of players that have, schedules, and this kind of stuff has to be a little bit earlier in the year, but I think this would be the most televised, most watched golf event in years upon years if they did it.
yeah, I think you would do ratings similar to the PGA Tour. I'm sorry, I was just gonna say PGA Tour Live scenario. I think it would do ratings similar to like the Ryder Cup. I think it would be right up there because it is one of the most talked about things in the golf world right now, and it is one of the most captivating. But it was funny. Did you see Max Homa's quote tweet when somebody reported again that Live in Live in the PGA Tour are close to a deal? He said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, slow down. I didn't think this was going to happen so fast." Something along those lines, because it's been, what is it, over a year now? So it's just taken forever. I'll believe it when I see it, but it is the ultimate dudes sitting around just like naming guys that they would love to see play each other. And imagine if the anchor match coming up, the final was, if Tiger Woods somehow got back into shape, if it was Tiger against Phil, that would be just an all-time fucking.
Oh, dude, you could just end professional golf at that point. Like
I
them coming
would-
down to like
I
a match on the 18th
thinking
hole.
about it. Yeah, I have goosebumps thinking about how electric it would be to just see them go head to head, even though it's kind of like a Mike Tyson versus Mike Tyson situation where neither of them are anywhere near their prime.
But at least you can reminisce on the past and then see them do it in real time.
Exactly. I think that would definitely get 100. That would be the highest rated, even if you just got Tiger and Phil in any sort of competitive match together. That would do the biggest numbers of anything possible right now.
Oh yeah, and I'm excited to see the numbers and the production of the match coming up here next week, actually, in Vegas between Rory, Scottie, Brooks, and Bryson. Should be a good one. Also, potential purchasing of the PGA Tour Enterprises, about 6% looks like on the horizon for the PIF. Is that just another step in the chain of going to two complete tours that are somewhat together?
Yeah, I think it would pretty much put to bed any poaching of players from the PGA Tour to Live, where it sounds like the idea might be to have another, on top of the PGA Tour and the Live Tour, to have more like co-sanctioned events, even if it's like a handful of them. So you've got the majors, but then you've also got the co-sanctioned events between that both Live and PGA Tour players can play in, and hopefully that's for world ranking points, because ultimately we just want to make sure that all these Live guys stay in the majors as well, and we want to see some other like world golf, even if it could be like the World Golf Classic or things like that, where you get like major world ranking points, you qualify on Live and the PGA Tour. I think that would be money. So it just gives the PIF. The PGA and PIF, they're too close together. I keep fucking flipping them. But it gives the PIF an invested interest in the PGA Tour, so they would want to see it succeed. Obviously, they're not going to try to water down a product that they own part of. So I think that's just the kind of the step in the right direction for it.
Yeah, it's definitely a step in the right direction in terms of the unity of not like a constant battle of, it's more of a fun competition versus like what it never has been. It's never been fun between Live and PGA. It's been like one, if you like one, you hate the other. It's like politics, essentially. It's not like there's no middle ground, and this feels like a good, decent middle ground for both of them to come to, essentially. One thing you sent me today that you talked about and we're going to talk about is instilling a rule on the golf course. If we can instill run rule. So
a law, not a rule, a law.
A law, excuse me. From On Three Sports, they're trying to pass an OHIO Sportsmanship Act Tuesday. The act would make it a felony offense to plant a flag in the center of Ohio Stadium. So what would you make a felony to do on the golf course that people could get arrested for and never come back again, or maybe go to jail for? What's the one committable act?
Obviously, there's some low-hanging fruit here on laws you'd create, like pace of play. That's an obvious one, but one that just gets under my skin more than anything that I would enforce is I would not allow people to keep my score when I didn't ask them to keep my score, and then constantly ask me what I made on a hole after I do not give a fuck. I'm not playing a money game against them, and they're just like, "Oh, did you make double there?" And they ask it like they didn't just
so
play the fucking hole with them. Like, didn't you see the golf shots? Unless I'm wandering around in the forest and you hear me hacking through the bushes, you know exactly what I made. And that is the number one way to get under my skin, is people asking me what I had on a hole, and then just even keeping my score. Like, I'm a good enough golfer. I don't need to add up 12 and 7 and 80, 12. It's like a 3, 4, 5, maybe a 6 in there. So I can fucking do it in my head. You don't need to write it down and then ask me what I had after every hole. That bug, I would send anybody straight to jail for that shit. I can't stand
it. Mine would be, I think the final length that I would decide on is 2 feet, but I would make it illegal and a law that you can't mark a putt inside of 2 feet. So if you hit it up to 2 feet, you have to go up there, knock it in. You can't mark it. You can't look at it. I was watching fucking Keegan Bradley plumb bobbing a 1.5 putt on the PGA Tour this week, and then he missed it. Like, if you're gonna miss it anyways, fucking yeah. Like, once you hit it, there should be like a circle. I don't know how you would get the circle. Have to have the definitive lines. But if you put it inside that, you're not marking it. You're going up. You're knocking it in, or somebody's quick raking it if it's a little less cash, and you're done.
Here's an idea, and I've never said this sentence before, but maybe the PGA Tour could take a page out of the MLB's book and add a shot clock inside of 3 feet. Like, what if the proximity to the hole, because obviously they have all these data points. If they know that there's a putt inside of 3 feet, a clock on the camera just appears, and they have 30 seconds, even less than 30 seconds if it's inside of 3 feet, because it's a tale as old as time as well, where you get up there and you hit it left-handed, like with your eyes closed through your legs, and you make it, but you grind over it, you fucking aim point the whole thing, and then you miss it. So I think players would almost be better off. I guess the only way you could not enforce it, I would say, would be in like the final round of a tournament. Because if it's like a 3-footer to win the U.S. Open, you don't expect somebody to just get up and
somebody's like running up there and ripping it.
But it would be kind of electric. Like, think about that if they had like a 70-foot lag putt, and they have to like almost hit it and follow it if it gets inside of 3 feet. So they're not standing there watching it, and then it gets inside of 3 feet, and they have to run up there and rip it. So it actually would invent kind of a cool wrinkle into the PGA Tour, but they'll never do it. They don't even force pace of play right now. So what's going to change that? Nothing.
Oh yeah, they're totally enforcing pace of play, bro. Didn't you know?
Yeah, the 5.5, 6 hour rounds they play. It's fucking absurd.
It is absurd. All right, let's wrap this up with our mulligan of the week. Do you want to start us off this week, or should I start us off? Because mulligan of the week, for those of you that are new or haven't heard it, we go back to something that happened to us in the past week, and something that we could have easily taken a mulligan on, changed, and not had happen to us. So you want to start it off, or you want me to start it off?
I'll start real quick. I mean, I already told you about it because I had a pretty rough last Thursday night. A little thirsty Thursday. It was my girlfriend's holiday party with all of her coworkers, and then they always go out to the bar after, and I usually meet them there. And I got a little too tuned up. shocker. I know everybody's super surprised. And I walked home, made it home. And if I'm being honest, I could have been sleepwalking as well as just very drunk, but I fell in the bathroom and I have this bruise. Like if I could show you the bottom of my arm right now, it's just purple. Basically the entire, and I have no idea how it got there. But then there's also a dent in the wall, a small dent in the drywall where I think I hit the door handle into the wall. So just not a good situation for me. I definitely had a few too many cocktails. It is one of the few we went to the bar that I know one of the bartenders, and so he was kind of feeding me drinks, and then a couple guys wanted to do shots, and then it was just nighty night for Migsy. And I like the walk home was like half a mile, and it felt like I was walking through the wilderness in the middle of World War II, like drudging through 2 feet of snow up this hill, and it was just not that bad. But it was I woke up and I was like, why does my left arm hurt so bad? And then I look and it's just fucking just black and blue. So not good.
Not an ideal Thirsty Thursday for you. You took your girlfriend's Christmas party a little too to heart.
Yeah.
But that happens this time of the year.
If you're celebrating, why can't I celebrate? Like, and one of her good friends at work did just make partner as well. So he was trying to get shit-faced. And I was like, I'm going to celebrate with you. So
it's just like a real life episode of Suits. It's incredible.
Pretty close.
My mulligan of the week, I was changing my kid. We were in a different place, not at home, and he hasn't peed on me in months. And he peed on me 3 times in a span of 4 hours, 2 changings. And I am so out of touch with that because that used to happen a little bit and you kind of get out of the way. Well, this, I didn't get in the first time I panicked. It went on the ground on, his grandma's fucking rug on the ground. So that's not good. Then the second time he did it, I covered it up. So I was pretty quick on the trigger on that one. And then the third time, the way I was standing and when it started, it just all over the front of me. I panicked. I couldn't grab the diaper fast enough. And so it's one of those things where I was used to it happening for a while and now I'm out of touch. So I full on panic. I don't know what to do. I can't think to just like take the diaper and put it down. I'm like, I don't know. My brain just turns to mush once I see pee coming out. So I just lose it, and I had to wash my clothes there, and it was just a mess.
Yeah, you got to think a little quicker than that. But that kind of begs the question: are humans like dogs, where if you get them in a different situation, they just start acting different? Like, you know how dogs always have to pee in like when they're in a new park or whatever. Like, was Sawyer just need to rip a piss on you because he was in a different place?
That appears like it because it hasn't happened again when we got home. So it was just like a little spurt of either anger or whatever his problem is. But I didn't appreciate it too much.
Nervous. He's like, I'm not used to looking up at the ceiling. I don't have my fan to stare at. I don't have the same situation. So I'm gonna piss all over my dad.
Oh, what a treat! What a treat it is. But he's the best. All right, we're going to wrap this pod up for the week. Hope you had a great week. Hope you have a great week coming up. We've got a little bit of golf this weekend. There's just like some goofy. Mitchell's probably got some DP World Tour venture that he's going to be watching, or Asian Tour.
There is a PGA Tour Q School final stage this weekend. That's it's buried somewhere on like NBC, ESPN Plus, fucking Peacock nonsense. You really can't watch it, even though there's just dudes fighting for PGA Tour cards. But you can dig somewhere and find it.
Yeah, so go find that. Enjoy your weekend. We are at Big Drive Energy. You can follow us on all the social medias at Big Drive Energy on X, at Big Drive Energy Golf on Instagram. Have a great week. Enjoy it. Enjoy the weekend, football, all the holiday stuff coming up. It's coming in hot. My birthday's tomorrow. Pretty hyped on that. I don't want to self-shout out, but
you old piece of shit.
Yeah, 31 years old tomorrow. So I'm not going to be having a good week, but you guys all should have a great week. That wraps it up for us. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.